We have a full house on stage. Let's wait for the full house off stage also, but we will get started. Yes, Meghna, you had something? Good afternoon, thank you. Well, the topic for panel number 3, the one which we are representing here today, is the shift in the K-12 learning paradigm, blended, flipped, and experiential learning. Now, none of these terms need special introduction. All of us have been practitioners, and the last 2 years have actually took us on and off these words in practice. Of course, we have our own special ways of executing them, and today in this panel, we are trying our best to present to you the modus operandi of implementing them in our schools, the challenges and also the opportunities for all of us as we go forward, because we understand that these words and blended and hybrid and technology are an integral part of our teaching and learning process. So without much delay, we are fully cognizant of the fact that this is the first panel post-lunch. So we are going to keep it very crisp, very straight to the point, and we will leave you a lot of food on the table to think. That way at least you will be active and also involved in the discussion. So let me start from my right, and please pardon my ignorance, I don't have any introduction about your names, and I know few familiar faces, but not all faces are familiar, so can you? Thank you so much. So I'll start with Madam Lakshmi, principal from the Surya, the Global School, Hyderabad. And I want to talk to you about blended education. And when I ask you this, I am looking at the last 2 years and also the future. So if you can take us through your experience of blended learning in your schools.
I am Lakshmi 33 from Surya Global School, and thank you, sir, for choosing me to break the silence this afternoon for this panel to begin with. If I need to talk about, the topic was given as shift happening. If I need to say shift happening, we all know, and I strongly believe that change is constant and it is a universal phenomenon. And especially like Dr. Vidya ma'am, she was mentioning that we are dealing with the students of next generation, be it alpha, beta, gamma, whatever it is. Every year, it's quite challenging as an academicians that how we make ourselves quite updated with the trends and the methodologies what we are supposed to. And thanks to COVID, I think we all are in a pseudo perception that this pandemic had given us a scope that yes, we were venturing with something new or something different, of course, but that newness is not just because of the pandemic. Even before the pandemic, there were many instances as an academicians, be it any curriculum, we were constantly exploring how we can bring a difference in the education pattern, be it by the board, be it by the school, at every level, even in the classroom by teacher as well. Always they try to break the monotony in the classroom. And here blended has given another avenue for us just to go beyond. And if you talk about the future, and again here, the topic yesterday they were brainstorming that how a curriculum need to be redesigned as per this post-COVID, how exactly we are supposed to move forward. But the curriculum, it has its own restrictions. See, it is a big word what we use, but altogether a curriculum should not give a path or just rule the organization or the academic or education pattern, because curriculum is just an outcomes what we give age appropriate. Beyond that, there are lot many procedures, strategies, methodologies and personal perspectives as well as methods with the class teacher adapts within the classroom as per the need analysis of the learners. So I think instead of too much of brainstorming, I think there will be lot many instances spontaneously where the learners will give us an insight how to go ahead. Let me tell you, this generation teachers are quite different. Even when you correlate with our generation, they want different things every time, and they welcome the newness. So here, that's how they could cope up with the challenge of this pandemic. And even in future, they doesn't want to go back with this blended learning especially, but they would like to, because we have taught them the way we believe that we need to teach the student how to learn, not that what to be taught. The same happened with the teacher. We have tuned them in the path. I think they will explore more and go beyond exploring themselves, not only in the field of technology, but how they can make it interdisciplined in regard with methodology, content, strategies, and outcome to mold a best student, not only within the classroom, but with a global perspective. That is very important.
Thank you so much. Global perspectives, integration, open mind and flexibility. Well, with that kind of a approach, coming to you, Madam Madhumati, hybrid or blended, what we call now, and as we see and implement it, there are already voices which are rising, which talks about hybrid is a failure, hybrid is chaotic, and it is creating a lot of concerns. What has been your experience, and if you can take us through some of your ideas?
Right? How much are we making them take the responsibility of their learning? How much are we preparing them to take the role of learners so that the technology can become a part of their life? If we are not making them prepared, we are going to lose the game again. At this point of time, whatever the concerns the heads are making or the schools are making about the technology integration into the classroom, this comes when we are not actually taking care of the stakeholders who are the students into our confidence, or make them or groom them to accept the situation or accept that kind of a learning and make them prepared and take up the responsibility. So we have to look out for that element very importantly in their learning. Second, how much are we taking our parents into our confidence? How much are we able to communicate effectively to the parents, right? Are we advocating, or are the students able to showcase it to the parents? If they have to showcase it to the parents, how are we preparing them? What is that we have in place? So if we are having a plan in hand, then all these systems are going to be a success in our school. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Well, as rightly said, Mr. Chandrasekhar was asking how exactly we are going to welcome the children back, and how are we going to take the circumstances and the situation back to school. So here, out of 3 domains where repeatedly all the panelists were mentioning of taxonomy, I think we have, honestly speaking, if we are true to ourselves, we were giving enough emphasis for the cognitive domain, but we all were handicapped in regard with psychometric and affective domain. We all are aware of. And there is a big gap and the lacuna which had come up from past 2 years when children are back to school. Definitely, I think that's where they throw a challenge that we, of course, we can't go back with the time and fill the gap. What we can do in future when they come back, that's something where all stakeholders of this school need to categorically bifurcate. And here, if we are talking about how we are going to take the blended learning forward, here when we bifurcate that, what all strategies can go offline and what all can go online should be judiciously balanced. Not just they got used to everything you put up, not just no, they are back to school, everything you switch off. So that judicious balance is very much important, and more than anything, 2 things or 2 parameters which strike in my mind as a leader of the school is, one thing, the preparatoriness of a parent, or rather I should say mental preparatoriness of the parent, because parent will be expecting the same pace of a learning, same pace of adjustment, be it mental or physical adjustment of the student, where it's our responsibility to make the parent understand that they are back to school after 2 years. So they need to have enough patience, and we need to give enough time for the student to get it along. And the other thing is where the survey says and the research report says that as students were in isolation from past 2 years, though we may be quite hypocritical in saying that we were providing a good education, but still they were in isolation. To overcome that isolation, lot of mental counseling sessions has to happen at the age appropriate level. However, be it by the class teacher, be it by the experts, or wherever possible, to make them strong mentally before we even proceed executing anything a formal education, or we take them to a formal platform of education. I hope you all agree with me.
Can I add
Thank
to
you, thank
a
you.
little bit? Can I
Sure,
add?
sure.
I'd like to add that I just found this line very interesting. We tell the parents to do this, we tell the parents to do that. Who are the parents? Are we separated from the parents? Aren't we also the parents? We are also parents, and we are also educators, and we are also professionals. We are both. Remember them? They are no different creatures than us. But what are we differently from them is we are educators. First and foremost, please have confidence in yourself. You are an educator. If you go by the whims and fancies of what a parent thinks, and we change that, then again some other parent think, then we change that, then you're not an educator. So we have to stand by your values and what exactly we have to give it to the society. For a parent who probably doesn't think the way the professional thinks here. You're a professional. So I wanted to just elaborate on that point, that why are we separating the fact that we are educators and they are parents? No, we are all together. We also have kids, they also go to schools, we are also terrible parents sometimes, and we are also terrible people sometimes in terms of being teachers. But let's understand it in a bigger picture, that whatever has happened to all of them, to all of us together, the coronavirus and pandemic and all that. So we have to now take it forward with giving them the ingredients what education demands. So that's where an educator in you comes out. Otherwise you're just a teacher, just teaching from the textbook. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think we are good with respect to the discussion and the time. But just two last words to conclude from the panel is, one, the balance is important as we are getting back to balance both online and offline. And most importantly, remember March 2020 when pandemic struck, we all did some hand holding to all of our fellow team members, whether it is, you call it relearning, unlearning, whatever. The same kind of hand holding is required when they come back, because that is important and very critical. Thank you so much.
Thank you all the panel members. Can we have a big round of applause for all the panel members? Thank you very much. So I would request Mr. Kanhaiya Kumar from schoolcanvas.com to kindly come over stage and felicitate our panel members. Mr. Vikram from Exceed Education, and Mr. Anish Bangia from Open Door, and Ms. Usha Reddy from Meridian School. So I would request Kanhaiya sir to kindly felicitate Chandrasekhar sir. Kanhaiya sir, next I would request you to kindly felicitate Anjali ma'am. I'd like to share his presentation on digital approach to teaching and learning mathematics.